Hello and welcome to Qsports. I'm Amudu Gajaga and thank you for joining us. Coming up on Qsports today, we're looking at the Gambia Sports Journalists Association engagement with the national team coach Jonathan McKinstry. We call it Iftar with Coach Jonathan McKinstry, where journalists engaged the coach, had the opportunity to ask him critical questions concerning the national team, its development, upcoming matches. You will hear about that, and also we'll be looking at the first Gambian woman to sign in Australia, where a professional contract for the very first time, Penda Bar. We'll be talking about her. And also we'll be looking at another Gambian woman who is making strides in the United States of America, competing in the NCAA competition, where she came out first in the 60 meters and also in the 200 meters. Maimuna Jallo will be talking to us via video link. We'll also be looking at the Gambia's first division as it comes to the conclusion in the first round stage before the start of the second round. We will look at some of the key highlights of the matches, the table standings, and we will also be looking at some Gambian players in international football. All that to come on Q Sports. Welcome and thank you for joining us. This is Q Sports and I'm Mamudu Gajaga. First, let's start with the Gambia national team, the Scorpions. The national team coach, Jonathan McKinstry, had an engagement with the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia. Members met him and asked him some critical questions about the Gambia national team in terms of its preparation, the future, a review of the last Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, where the Gambia failed to qualify to Morocco 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. And you'll hear some of the questions and the coach's reaction. Sports journalists in the Gambia had the opportunity to engage with Coach Jonathan McKinstry, allowing them to ask important questions about the national team. The event was facilitated by Omar Jaju, President of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia.
We believe in dialogue. We believe in interaction. We believe in your mantra, your slogan, forward together. As people that are set to hold authorities accountable for their actions, we are going to exercise that. But that does not mean the relationship between these two organizations should not be cordial.
The convergence focused on several key issues, including Coach McKinstry's plans for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers after missing out on the AFCON 2025 in Morocco, the challenge of playing home matches away, the team's fragile defense leading to conceded goals, and the presence of two goalkeeper trainers, among other topics. Coach McKinstry responses to these concerns.
Thanks. So, yeah, I think it's absolutely important to start there. It's the right place to start because we had big ambitions. You know, we've been to 2 African Cup of Nations in a row, and our ambitions absolutely were to qualify again. What would I attribute it to? I think we had a slow start. We definitely had a slow start. If you look in those 2 opening games against the Comoros, where we dominated the game but ended up drawing 1-1 in match day 1, and then again against Tunisia, really having quite a good game and creating a lot of chances, but you know, coming away and not getting any points in it. And into match day 3, again dominating the game against Madagascar but only taking a point. So really, to only take 2 points from the opening 3 games for us on a technical level was very disappointing, because when you look back at the games, really our minimum expectations in review, not even before the games, but in review, our minimum expectations would be to take at least 6 points, not 2. And so when we had that slow start and a couple of other nations did okay to begin with, it sort of left us playing catch up a little bit. And then that brings the pressure on it. So I definitely think a slow start was a big part of it. I also think the group as a whole have new things to learn, because I think everyone watching the games, or hopefully everyone, can see that there's been a big shift in how we're trying to play the game. You know, we're definitely You know, the team's position is a lot higher up the field. We're using the ball a lot more. We're passing it a lot more. And we've seen a lot of improvements in various areas. But with those improvements, we also have to say that there's been areas that previously weren't ever going to be an issue because of the style of play, like being caught on the counter-attack, which now the players need to be very aware of. And so there was a few moments in the campaign where defensively we had lapses in concentration when we were in the attacking phase and we were hit on the counter. And also there was a few moments where we were just a little bit untidy with our play. So these are in essence new things which come because of what we're trying to do with the ball. So we're very clear on where we need to improve on. Everyone very disappointed in terms of not sealing qualification. And look, it's our job to put it right. We're going, we feel, in the right direction football-wise. But ultimately, you know, I could throw all the statistics and all of the improvements at you in the world. And from a technical point of view, it's important for us in the building. But we also know that pass completion rate, XG, you know, all of these things don't really matter an awful lot if we don't get the job done. So absolutely, we're disappointed in ourselves that we weren't able to convert what was some very good play into results, but we're going in the right direction. Obviously, taking 6 points from the last 3 games is positive, and we just have to keep going now in the World Cup qualification.
Eventually you fail after the country's appearance twice, 2 successive appearances. Now, what steps, be specific here, what steps do you think you need to take as the head coach to make sure these problems that you've highlighted are being solved?
One of the things we've seen is that we are creating a lot more chances than ever before. You know, I know I told you I could throw XG at you all day, but I will give you it. In the previous qualifying campaign for the previous AFCON before my arrival, the team's XG was 4.5. And they scored 7 goals. So the expected goals was 4.5, but they scored 7. In this campaign just concluded, our XG was 12.5, and we only scored 6. So in terms of the quality of chances, we almost tripled the XG, which is a big shift. Trust me, that's a big shift. And so in terms of the process and the build-up, we're doing very well, but we weren't clinical enough. So one of the things is we need to make sure we're clinical, and that's not just about a technical thing, that's also about additional players arriving in the box at the right time, the timing of runs, the awareness that it can't just be 1 player or 2 players we're relying on. There has to be a variety of players getting involved in that. And so I think that's one of the big things. Also for me, when I go back and review the games, I want us to be more competitive in midfield. You know, I think if you look back at my teams over the last 15 years, my midfield have always been very competitive. That doesn't mean that they're all physical players, but it means even if they are a more diminutive player, more in the style of Xavi or Iniesta, they can still break up play very effectively, and I think we need to do better at that. And ultimately another big thing is, which we've started to fix, is we need to be better at defending set pieces. This is a historical problem for the Gambia, going back 7-8 years. Set piece defending has always been an issue, but that doesn't mean it's an excuse to say, well, it's always been an issue, so it always should be an issue. No. The last few games we've done better at it, but there's still improvement to go. So yeah, being cleaner, clinical around the box, because we're creating the chances, we just need to take them. More competitive in the midfield, and in general, better and tighter at defending set pieces.
I am Laminam Fati of LSGB1. I just have a question, maybe 2 questions, but fusing one. Coach, in the recent selections, we've not seen most of the players coming from other parts of Africa, and we believe we have very good players that are playing their trade in other parts of Africa. Are you having an eye or closer look at those players? If yes, how soon should we expect to have those players in the national team? And in the recent visit to the Gambia, we've also seen you having some interactions with some of the top division clubs. Are you having an eye on some of the players that are playing their trade in the Gambia? If yes, do you believe we have players in the National League that can simply break into the senior national league?
In terms of the players playing on the continent, yes, 100%. Obviously, we've already called players up who are playing on the continent, because if you remember when we invited Idrissa Cisse, he was playing in Senegal. And I think partly because he got the exposure of the national team, he got his move up to Europe through that. Obviously, we've had Lamine Seydi from the local league here, from Real de Banjul, in the last few squads as well, and he's done well. So absolutely, we're tracking the guys. And look, we know, obviously, we've got players, we've got the likes of Sila, who's doing well in Tanzania. We've got Jata, who's doing well. He's now finally getting a run up in Egypt. He's been in Egypt a couple of years. Last season didn't play so much. This season's playing more, although El Guna struggling at the bottom of the league. They're a small budget team, El Guna. They're fighting sort of above their weight level there. And obviously also up in Tunisia at Esperance. So we know we've got guys out there in the leagues. And we're keeping a track on them, getting their videos, monitoring them, being in contact with some of them. And yeah, there is an opportunity for them. I think one of the things that we've got to balance as well, though, is when we look at leagues and the strength of leagues, it's also important to look beyond the big teams in that league. So, for example, in Tanzania, you've got Simba, you've got Yanga, you've got Azam, who are the big money teams. But the teams at the bottom of the Tanzanian league are not much bigger than some of our teams here in the GFF First Division. So the quality of the league at the top end of it is very strong, but the bottom of it can potentially be very weak. And that's the same, like to compare El Guna, for example, with Al Ahly is like comparing a cow and a chicken. They're both animals, but they're very different animals. And so we have to balance all of those things. So we like that the guys are playing well and making a career for themselves. We also look at things like age profile a little bit. Because if you are 29, 30, 31 and playing, maybe it's not quite your opportunity. But yeah, we're looking at it, going around the GFF leagues. I was at the Division 2 team today as well. That's about understanding who's coming next. So who's coming next on the pipeline, and again, if you're good enough, you'll get your chance. What I would say is, I've already said, the competition for places in the Scorpions is remarkably high, especially in certain positions, remarkably high. And so even players who are playing like in the professional leagues in Europe get disappointed. So it is a challenge, but I've called up players from domestic leagues before. I'd be happy to do it again in the future. I think overall, look, we go into, especially when it's a competitive game, we go in to try and win the game. Okay, yes, we always want to add to our playing model. We want to take the next step in our development, but we want to win the game because regardless, before we even get into the discussion of how difficult or not it will be to qualify for the World Cup, you got to remember winning competitive games gets you world ranking points, it helps move you up the FIFA table, and that has an impact on future groups. Because you got to remember when we came into, for example, the most recent AFCON group, we were the 4th seed. We were the bottom ranked team going into our AFCON group. So can we, by winning football matches, become a 3rd seed and then a 2nd seed? Because then it becomes more straightforward to qualify. So we're going to go out and try and win the football matches. The World Cup, look, we've got 3 points, but we've got to play Kenya home and away. We've got to play the Seychelles again. We've got to play Burundi again, obviously Cote d'Ivoire again, and Gabon again. So there's a lot of football still to be played. Is it a bit of a hill? I wouldn't call it a mountain, but it's definitely a hill that has to be climbed. And we've got to pick up results, and we've got to pick them up quickly. So we're going to go and see, can we get 6 points, 4 points from this window? If we can, then it's game on. Maybe first place in the group is a stretch, but second place after these games, if we do well, could be very possible. And then in terms of using it for players, like I said earlier, we've given out 13 debuts in the last 8 games. That's a lot. Will we give some more debuts out over the coming 8 games? 9 games? Yes, absolutely. I don't think it will be as many as 13. You might see another 3 or 4 guys, but at the same time, stability is also very important. So we're going to try and keep improving our game. We're going to try and win football matches, and if players deserve to be brought into the lineup, they'll get their chance. I think we had a slow start. We definitely had a slow start. If you look in those two opening games against the Comoros, where we dominated the game but ended up drawing 1-1 in match day 1, and then again against Tunisia, really having quite a good game and creating a lot of chances, but coming away and not getting any points in it.
The Gambia was forced to play all 3 matches of its home AFCON qualifiers away due to the ban on the Independence Stadium. Coach McKinstry expressed his desire to have played those matches at home, but shared a different opinion on the condition of the pitch at the Independence Stadium.
The pitch at our stadium is exactly the same quality as the pitch that we were allowed to play on in Morocco. The pitch at our stadium is better than the pitch that we played and lost 3-2 against Gabon back in June, and the Chan team played on a couple of days ago. It is a better pitch than that pitch. Not a single one of our players or opposition players, if they came and walked out on that pitch, not a single one of them would complain about it.
The Scorpions will play 2 World Cup qualifiers later this month. A game away to Kenya, to be played in Cote d'Ivoire, and an away match against group leaders, the Elephants. Despite being second from bottom with just 3 points from 4 matches, Coach McKinstry remains optimistic, stating that his team is determined to win their remaining 6 World Cup qualifiers.
Winning competitive games gets you world ranking points, it helps move you up the FIFA table, and that has an impact on future groups. Because you've got to remember, when we came into, for example, the most recent AFCON group, we were the 4th seed. We were the bottom ranked team going into our AFCON group. So can we, by winning football matches, become a 3rd seed and then a 2nd seed?
Now, let's talk about the Gambia national team ahead of the World Cup qualifiers, the 2 crucial matches. First against Kenya, which is a home game, but it's going to be played away from home due to the ban of the Independence Stadium. The Gambia will play against Kenya in what will be their 5th game of the World Cup qualifiers. After they played 4 times, they only got 3 points because they won once and lost 3 games. And they will be playing against Cote d'Ivoire, which is going to be the host in the other match, 2 matches in succession. First will be played on the 20th, and the second match against Cote d'Ivoire will be played on the 24th. The coach, Jonathan McKinstry, was talking to journalists about the preparation. He also unveiled the squad, the 24-man squad, who will be facing these 2 countries in the qualifiers. Some of the omissions and the reasons, and also when it comes to Gambia's chances of winning these 2 matches, or maybe at least getting a respectable performance. Let's hear from Coach Jonathan McKinstry.
So I think, look, in essence, yeah, the game against Tunisia, to refresh on that, was a good performance. I think we've seen a lot of good performances. I think in Tunisia it came together quite well. The players, the thing about it is, with our games in the last campaign, it's so easy to focus on the Tunisia game because of the result. And I understand that. I completely understand that because football's a results business. But there were other performances that were equally as good as the Tunisia game where we didn't get the win. And when you look at it and go, for example, the game against, the previous game against Comoros that we actually lost 2-1, statistically, the XG on that had us winning 4-1. So again, performance-wise, there was a performance there. You don't get those those metrics without having a good performance. So the performance in a number of the games we were very pleased with. I think the big thing for Tunisia was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the first time in recent memory, if ever, that we've went away to a major nation on the continent and won. We've obviously had good results against Tunisia in particular at a tournament, at a neutral venue, but to go away into someone else's house and take all 3 points from them, I'm not sure we've done that previously against a Tunisia, Morocco, an Egypt, a Ghana, Senegal. The results have came on neutral territories or at home. So that's a big moment for us, and it will give us confidence going into the Ivory Coast game to say, hey, Doesn't matter who the opponent is, doesn't matter that we're in their house, we can come and play with confidence. And so that's always very good. And in terms of formations, you know, look, we always say a formation is how you stand at kickoff. You know, a formation is how you stand at kickoff because, you know, you can talk about, you know, 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, but in the attacking phase, you might have Joseph Cisse and Ibu Toure up in the attacking line. So in the attacking phase, it might be more of a 2-2-5 or, you know, a 2-3-5 formation. So the game ebbs and flows like that. And yeah, look, ultimately, it's the players we have available. It's about what we can do. It's about the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. We make little tweaks every now and again. And so, yeah, we're confident going into the games. And in terms of the Kenya coach, you know, he's obviously an experienced coach. He's had a few really good positions in the South African League, obviously with Manchester United most recently. We've said already in the press conference, I know the position he's in now because it's his first time with a national team coaching. And the time is very short. It's completely different than being a club coach. And, you know, I know because I don't know him personally, but I know from his record that he has quality as a... I think it's interesting, there's different layers to sort of analyse things. Obviously, in the last 2 AFCON qualification campaigns, the goal difference has been 0. Because the previous one, it was also 0. It was 7-4, 7 against. And so that's been common for the Gambia in recent years. One of the things that was very positive of the last campaign was actually our expected goals was triple the previous campaign, and our expected goals against was almost half of the previous campaign. So in terms of chances created and chances given up, we've improved significantly across the last 2 years. But now it's about just that quality in the final moments. You know, can we make sure that those expected goals turn into real goals? Because ultimately that's all that matters, isn't it? You know, how many times it actually goes in the back of the net. So, yeah, it's about being a little bit cleaner. We're going to continue on the path we've been playing because we've seen great positive improvements and the guys are really enjoying it. But we are going to take the next step in that evolution. I always say, you know, football and changing a team's philosophy and identity, it's not a light switch. You don't do it in one day. It's more like reading a book. You start with chapter 1, you work through chapter 2, chapter 10 to chapter 20. Last year, the first 8 months, we were in the introduction and the players were understanding about how we want them to play, you know, the mentality of it, some of the small details. Now we're moving into the main part of the book where you're going to see 1 or 2 new changes. Like, I'm not going to tell you what they are because I'm not going to flag them up to anybody, but you will see something in these games where you'll go, okay, that's different. And I think, but it was always the plan. It was the plan from day one, but you couldn't do it on day one because it would have been too much. So you have to take 1 chapter at a time. So, and in terms of these 2 games, 2 very different opponents, but we have very clear game plans for both of them. And I think we can play in both ways. I think you saw even against Tunisia where maybe we had less of the ball, we still created some really good chances and ultimately won the game. Against Morocco, not against Morocco, against Tunisia in the first game, even though we lost the game, again, we created really good chances. So, yeah, I think both games are going to be good. And I think, look, there's no reason we can't take 6 points from the games. It's going to be really difficult. 6 points is not easy. We've talked about Ivory Coast's record already, but if we play to our best, we can match any team on the continent.
3 new players, Musa Dibaga, a goalkeeper, Sekou Toure, a midfielder, and Jibril Silla, an attacker, have been included in the 24-man squad for the Gambia's upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Kenya's Harambee Stars and Ivory Coast Elephants. Head coach Jonathan McKinstry believes these new additions have earned their place in the team.
And for the 3 you look at in particular, Musa Dibaga in goals, obviously grew up in Spain, Spanish-born to Gambian parents, signed his first professional contract in the summer with Inverness Caledonian Thistle in Scotland and has been their #1 goalkeeper all year. So he's maybe put in 23, 24 consecutive appearances, has got man of the match in a number of appearances. Sekou Toure, obviously someone I think a lot of Gambians will know about, has had some injury problems in his early part of his career, but this season he's really had consistent form. You know, ever since he's got into the team around September time, he has been a regular. He started about 90% of the games for Grenoble in central midfield.
Despite missing out on a qualification spot for the AFCON 2025, the Gambia ended their last group away fixture in Tunisia with a 1-0 victory. Two young players, Abubakar Bari and Mahmoudou Bajo, delivered impressive performances. Coach McKinstry acknowledged their contribution, but cautioned that they must maintain consistency to secure a regular spot in the team.
Bajo's someone who's been around the national team camp for basically since I first arrived. And again, really talented, and he stepped into the team and did well. But I also want to caution this, is that let's not take one performance against Tunisia and say that is what a player will always be. The nature of football, and especially the nature of young players, is they will have games that are a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10 performance. And we can't jump on them and be so critical of them when that happens, because it happens to every young player. David Beckham, Ronaldinho, you know, whoever you want to name, they had good games, they had less good games.
Kenya and Ivory Coast are ranked higher than the Gambia in international football. Harambee Stars are under new coach Benny McCarthy, who will be eager for a tough contest against the Scorpions. When asked about concerns over his players' work rate to achieve good results, Coach Jonathan McKinstry remains optimistic and confident.
I would agree, I don't want it to happen any time in 90 minutes. And look, the nature of it is you're absolutely right. You know, when we want players to be all action all the time and, you know, responsible for themselves and, you know, take ownership of their performance. And I think 99% of the time, the guys we have 100% do that. Is there moments where people are maybe fatigued, or maybe people become frustrated because the game's not going the way they want it to go, and for a split second, they're not switched on to do the thing they need to do? Yeah, it happens.
The Gambia is currently second from bottom in Group F with 3 points from 4 matches, while Kenya sits third with 5 points. Ivory Coast lead the group with 10 points, having secured 3 wins and a draw, which came against Kenya. Still on Qsports, for the first time, a Gambian female footballer, captain of the female national team, that is Pendaba, has signed a professional contract in Estonia. Vilma FC is a team that she signed for, and this is going to be a 1-year professional contract. And from that contract, if she impresses, it could lead to some bigger deals. And Pendaba spoke to us as well. Pendaba has made history as the first African female footballer to sign a professional contract in Estonia's top-tier league. Vimsi JK offered a 1-year contract with an option for extension after she impressed during training. Penda is also remembered for scoring the Gambia's women's under-17 team's first goal at the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Azerbaijan in 2012, at just 14 years old. Pendaba's journey towards a promising football career began as expected. She started at her home club, Brikama United, where she played for 3 years before moving to Interior in 2012, competing in the Gambia's women's first division. She remained with Interior until 2018, then joined Nigeria's Premier League side, Dream Stars, for a year before moving to River Angels. After returning to the Gambia to rejoin Interior, she took her career to Belarus in 2022. Penda expressed her excitement about this new chapter in Estonia.
My name is Pendaba, women's national team captain for the Gambia. I'm glad to be part of Vinci family in Estonia, and also the first African player to be in premiership here. Voidly, Vinci, voidly!
After so many years fighting for my dreams, there is nothing that makes me happier than taking on new challenges. I am ready for this new adventure. This is another stepping stone for Penda. It's a learning process, also to share my greatest experience, especially to the younger generation in my beloved country, the Gambia.
Pendaba earned 23 caps for the national team, scoring 11 goals and captained the Gambia women's national team until 2022. That year, she traveled to Eastern Europe in search of better football opportunities. Now at Vimsi JK, she hopes to revive her career and fulfill her dream of becoming an exceptional footballer. We'll also be now looking at Maimouna Jallow. Maimouna Jallow is a Gambian athlete who went to the United States of America on a scholarship and now competing at the NCAA Championship. She has an incredible timing of 7.19 seconds in the 60 meters, which is a very good timing in the finals, and 22.86 seconds in the 200 meters. This is a record that was set by Jamaica's Veronica Campbell-Brown back in 2002. That's the record she has broken in this NCAA championship in the United States of America. She also ran in the 4x400 meters relay and won the gold medal in that as well. Fantastic performance, and we spoke to her earlier via video link.
I feel excited and super happy about my performance. Like everything, you have to work hard and believe in yourself. Whatever you're doing, I have been working so hard just to be a champion. And then I have been following the big athletes just to be like them. I watch them and then work hard. I was happy and excited that I did this performance, but I feel like I haven't started anything yet. I'm ready to work hard and then do more.
Yes, so if you look at your performance in the 60 meters, you clocked in 7.19 seconds, and also in the 200 meters, 22.86 seconds. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I work for it. I really work for it. Like just I mentioned, I watch the big athletes. I always follow them just to be like them, and then I work hard. And in athletic, whatever you're doing, first put this discipline, listen to your coach, work hard, be kind. That's all.
Are you an all-round sprinter? Because aside from that, also you did perform in the 4x400 meters. This is amazing.
It's all about the hard working I'm doing. 400 is never my event, but like I'm training hard, and then the coaches see that I can do that, and then they fix me in the 4x4, and I'm happy that I do good, both the 4x4 and then my individual events.
Tell us a little bit about the athletics journey. Is it the struggles like everyone else from the Gambia, not running on proper tracks and traveling to the United States, and then all of a sudden now you have the best of facilities, coaches, and as well, I'm sure you're going to school at the same time competing, training with the coaches as well.
Yeah, there's different, like in the Gambia, and then here we have different. In the Gambia, we don't have that facility. Like there's no track in the Gambia right now. The athletes are not having track where they can train. And then here you have track, you train in a good gym, you have everything you need as an athlete. So that's the only difference right now. Even the athletes in the Gambia, if they have those facilities, I think they can do better.
Okay. For the future, these timings that you get are very, very good, very encouraging. What would you want to see yourself achieve, let's say, in the next few years? And maybe when it comes to competing for the Gambia at the international level, what are you looking forward to?
I'm dreaming big. I wanna become a champion. I wanna be a big athlete, break records. Like I just started. I wanna be a world leader. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Are there any athletes who motivate you, who inspires you? You want to be like them?
Yeah, Gina Bice is my role model. She called me every day, advised me, and then show me the way. I'm listening to her. She's giving me every day advice that I can do to perform, just to be like her.
And when it comes to athletics in the United States of America is different. And here in the Gambia, you can be an athlete if you want after your high school. Okay, you don't want to go to school anymore. But yes, it's completely different, especially if you're on a scholarship. You have to try both on the tracks and also in class as well. And tell us, how are you combining the two?
Yeah, it's very important to go to school because you can't be running forever. It's important. I'm balancing right now athletic and then classes. I do go to class from there then and then train. And it's not easy. We compete every week and then we go to school every day from Monday to Friday, and then we compete from Saturday, Sunday. So you'll be having sometimes assignments while you're competing. It is not easy, but just work hard and then balance both because it's very important to educate as well.
Any plans for international competitions? Any ones coming close? Have you spoken to the Gambia, let's say, Athletics Federation? Are they interested in you competing for the Gambia in any of the upcoming events?
Yeah, they're interested for me competing to them, but I'm also proud to be a Gambian and then to compete for the Gambia. So anytime I have time and there's competition, I'll compete for them.
The future is now. With Qcel's 5G network, experience speeds like never before. With our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan, get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into Qcell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with Qcell. Qcell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. Qcell, Sunyapus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Introducing the QSmart and QSmart Plus, where innovation meets affordability. Capture life's precious moments with stunning clarity thanks to our high-resolution cameras. Enjoy uninterrupted performance with a fast processor and a long-lasting battery that keeps up with your day. The QSmart offers a 5.9-inch immersive display, powerful performance, and an all-day battery life, all for just $3,400. Plus get an incredible bundle of 15 gigabytes of data, 120 minutes of talk time, and 300 SMS absolutely free. Upgrade to the QSmart Plus featuring a faster processor and extended battery life and a larger 6.5-inch screen for just $4,000. With it, you receive a massive 30 gigabytes of data, 300 SMS, and 120 minutes of talk time completely free. All bundles are spread across a 3-month period. Don't miss out. Get your QSmart or QSmart Plus from Qcell today. Discover the best in quality and value right here in the Gambia. Available at all Qcell customer care centers across the country. For more information, call 111. Qcell Senior Boss. We innovate, others follow.
Now, let's talk about the Gambia's first division. It's getting intense as the first round comes to a close. We'll be looking at some of the matches, and aside from that, the table standings, who comes top and who is second, and we'll also be looking at the bottom of the table. What is there to prepare for? Is it champions Real de Banjul who are going to defend their title? Is Brikama United coming close? How about Fortune and Hearts FC, a team that is coming into the first division for the very first time, but with an impressive performance? In the JFF First Division League, March Day 15, here are some of the results. Heart FC 2, Real de Banjul, the champions 1, Falcons 0, Steve Biko 1, Bombada 2, Gambia Armed Forces 1, Gambia Dutch Lions 0, Fortune 1. These results have some significant impact on the table standings. In pole position is still the champions Real de Banjul after playing 15 matches on 30 points, closely followed by second place Heart FC, who recently won against Real de Banjul, the champions, by 2-1 on 29 points. And closely in third place, Brikama United, who played a game less. They played 14 games and they have 25 points. Hawks occupy fourth position with 25 points, also playing 14 matches. At the bottom end of the table, it is the Gambia Armed Forces on 14th place with 13 points. Greater Tomorrow on 15th position after 14 games with 13 points as well. And rock bottom in 16th place is Banjul United, relegation threatened, 10 points after 13 matches. Finally on Qsports, let's look at the Gambia national team players, especially those who are performing very well across Europe and Asia. Recently, Musa Barrow scored a fantastic goal to get the equalizer for his team in the Asian Champions League. He scored a screamer just outside the box to get the game level, and then in the penalty shootouts, his team, Al Tawoun, progressed. Now they will be playing in the Asian Champions League semi-final. Gambia international Musa Barrow scored for Saudi Arabian club Al Tawoun to reach the semi-finals of the Asian Champions League for the first time in its history, after defeating Iranian Tractor Tabriz 4-2 on penalties in the second leg of the quarterfinals at its home stadium in Buraida. The match ended in a 2-2 draw after extra time, with Musa Barrow and Sultan Madaz scoring for Al Tawoun. With achievements, Al Tawoun continues its journey in the tournament, achieving an unprecedented accomplishment. Well, that's all we have time for on Q Sports. Thank you very much for watching. Join us next week at the same time and have a pleasant afternoon.